brothers and sisters. This evening we have two short lectures in the second last session of the formal program of this Congress before the closing session tomorrow morning. First of all, it is my great pleasure to introduce Mrs. Manju Sundaram of the Indian section. By way of brief background, and she has an extensive biographical portfolio, she was educated at the Rajgat School, Varanasi, run by the Krishnamurti Foundation, India. She holds an MA in Sanskrit from Banaras Hindu University. She has also had formal training in music and has broadcasted regularly as a vocalist since 1970, including on television programs. Mrs. Sundaram has given many stage concerts, including a performance before His Holiness the Dalai Lama. She has also performed at several universities in Austria, and I believe has just visited Austria again. In 2005, she retired as head of a vocal music department in Varanasi after serving the institution concerned for nearly 26 years. She has been closely and actively associated with the cultural, the educational, and the philanthropic work of the Theosophical Society. She has also toured extensively, lecturing on theosophical subjects and spiritual aspects of music. Her lecture title this evening is Life, a Symphony of Art and Beauty. I now ask Mrs. Sundaram to address us.
Thank you. Our revered International President Radhaji, respected Vice President Mrs. Linda Oliveira, who chairs this session, Brother Bhupen Bhai Vora, my co-speaker, respected Brother Antonio Girardi, and my dear brothers and sisters. It is indeed a privilege and honor to speak before such an august gathering, and I am thankful for having been given this opportunity to share my thoughts and my feelings with you all. Friends, I have chosen to speak to you this evening, as is obvious from the title, through the language of art and music. Music being close to my heart, my being, and music, as also all creative arts, being the language of the universe, the most potent, powerful, magical language that not only penetrates and reaches the remotest recesses of people's hearts, but also unravels in its own unique way all the marvels, the mysteries, and the truths of nature and of life. Music has helped me greatly in seeing, perceiving, and feeling the depths and dimensions of life in its myriad hues. Music has unveiled the most beautiful phenomena of the oneness of nature and life, which otherwise one perhaps would not have been able to experience. Let me begin by sharing with you all a beautiful parable that conveys so much in its own way. A temple was being built in a place of pilgrimage. It was a mid-summer noon, and the three men sitting by the roadside near the half-built temple were busy breaking and cutting huge boulders into pieces. It was a hot, scorching day, and the three sweated heavily. A passerby, on seeing them, out of curiosity, went to the first one and asked, "What are you doing?" "Don't you see what I am doing? Breaking stones, and what else?" said he. There was annoyance and irritation in his voice, and stress and strain and sadness on his face. Breaking stones certainly could not be a source of joy. The passerby went silently to the second man and repeated his question, "What are you doing, my friend?" And the reply was, "Earning my livelihood." He had simply stated a fact. He was not sad. He was not angry at his plight, but he was not happy either. It was perhaps an involuntary submission to a situation. There was a sense of utter helplessness in his words. How could earning a livelihood be a thing of joy? The traveler silently moved ahead. He went to the third man and once again asked him the same question. "And what are you doing, my worthy friend?" The man took a few seconds to answer, as he had not heard the question. Why? Because he was completely engrossed in his work and was also humming a joyous song while hammering and chipping the stone. The question then was repeated, to which he answered with a sparkle in his eyes and a smile on his face. "Don't you know, my dear friend, I am building a temple for my Lord. Surely no privilege greater, no honor higher could be bestowed on him than this, that he was given an opportunity to build a temple for his Lord." While uttering these words, perhaps he was already seeing his Lord in the sanctum sanctorum. The work was the same. The working conditions were the same. The situation similar. And yet, what a difference in the reaction, in the response of the three men to the same question. One was carrying the burden of his existence somehow, perhaps even cursing it. To the second one, the work he was doing was simply a drudgery. He had no alternative, and he had to do it whether he liked it or not. But the third one was different. For him, his work was as sacred as the temple itself. Every moment, every hour, every day spent in the work was an offering to his Lord, as it were. Building a temple, these three simple words enshrined in them a deep sense of devotion, dedication, sincerity, and a sense of sanctity towards what he was doing, the work he was assigned with. And this attitude, this approach towards his work and life were significant things which gave a sacred meaning to his existence. transformed mere existence into a vibrant life, a life of peace and happiness, a life of contentment and gratitude, a life with an aesthetic quality and great creative beauty. His whole being, his body, mind, and soul were in perfect harmony with the physical surroundings, with the work and the working conditions. There was no resistance, no obstacles, no oppositions from within his psyche. There just was a happy, spontaneous, effortless surrender to and acceptance of a situation, of a greater plan that perhaps he was well aware of. I wonder, friends, whether you have heard the music of the great world-renowned Sufi singer Abida Parveen of Pakistan. Listening to her is a sublime experience. Once she was asked during an interview, "How do you feel? What comes to your mind when you see a mammoth audience of 5,000-6,000 sitting in front, waiting to listen to you?" She was silent for a few seconds. Then she said, "Who do you think remains there to feel, to experience, or express all that you ask? No one. The moment the string of the instrument are in tune with the music, and the soul in perfect attunement with the instrument and the atmosphere, and the moment the first note is struck or sung, everything vanishes, dissolves into nothing. Then there is neither the singer, nor the listener, nor even the individual consciousness of anything. What remains, perhaps, is the flow of pure, wholesome music. These are the moments when the creative energy is in action, in its effortless, spontaneous flow, leaving behind, throwing into oblivion, as it were, the narrow self, the ego, the personal consciousness of who is doing, what is being done. All is lost, all fades away, losing its entity to the infinite. It is in such creative moments that one not only hears, but feels the profound resonances of the music of the spheres. One is in complete at-one-ment, as Sufi Inayat Khan said, with the music of the universe that permeates the entire atmosphere, breaking away all barriers of time and space and age. One perceives the harmony, the beauty of oneness in all phenomena of nature and life. Then music just flows, taking its own course. Things just happen smoothly, beautifully, peacefully. What do we understand from all this? What is the state of mind that the artist dwells in? He is in action every moment, thinking, feeling, tuning, contemplating on the melody. Then, what is so differently special about it, unique about it? The difference is in the approach, the attitude. He does not cling on to his music. He cannot. He does not tune his instrument because it will please his listeners. He does not prepare himself, his mind, body, and soul just to gratify his whims. He does not want to evoke a particular response from the audience. There is neither expectation, nor attachment, nor any longing for some desired results. He just readies himself, his whole being, to fulfill the demands of music, of melody. If he holds on tight to the self or selfish desires, the music loses its sublimity, its power and sacredness. But if he loses his self, his ego completely to music, then not only he, but every soul experiences delight and bliss, which is unfathomable. I would like, friends, to quote here the most inspiring and thought-provoking words spoken by an artist of Indian classical music, Mr. Rishi Kumar Pandya, on the quality of music of one of the all-time great musicians, Mrs. Annapurna Devi, now in her late 80s, who seldom performed in public. Mr. Pandya was asked by a music critic, "Is there anything special in Annapurna Devi's approach to a particular melody?" And the reply given was, "There is nothing like approach to a particular melody. It is approach to the music total." For Annapurna Devi, music is like an act of worship. When she surrenders to it, it just happens. In the Zen sense, the Zen master archer does not aim and shoot. He shoots and the target is there. Can it not be the same with our approach to life too? Seeing life not in fragments, but in its totality? Surely it is not possible till one holds on to the little things, to one's immediate motives, desires, expectations. But the moment one lets go of all this, then life takes over the responsibility. It is life in its wholeness that looks after itself. When there is the honest, spontaneous following of life's laws, then things happen as they ought to. One has to ready oneself to help life live itself. To be born a human is God's greatest blessing, so say the sages, the seers, and the saints. This human life is not a burden, but an unparalleled opportunity to explore and understand the mysteries of nature, of universe, and of life itself. However, it is quite true that we may not be born into ideal circumstances, circumstances which could guarantee or promise happiness, comfort, pleasure that one seeks all through one's life. This is not in one's hands either. One cannot change the divine plan. One cannot design one's destiny. But what one can do is make the best out of life that has been given to one. Make the best out of the situations that one is surrounded with. Make the best out of circumstances that one comes across by living in the right way, in a creative way, in a sacred way. When anything is done with a sense of sanctity and sacredness, there spontaneously comes discipline, physical as well as inner discipline. Then, at the center of everything, in the core of every effort, every action, there is harmony, there is order, there is joy, in spite of the physical strain and fatigue that one may have to undergo. Then, whatever work one does not do out of compulsion, but does for the sheer love of it, sheer beauty of it. I remember vividly when I was a student of Rajghat School at Varanasi in India. It is one of the oldest Krishnamurti schools. Someone asked Krishnamurti during one of his talks, "Sir, You have been traveling all over the world, giving talks, addressing huge gatherings for the past so many decades. Why do you do it, sir? And Krishnamurti's reply was, Sir, because I cannot help it. This is the beauty of feeling intensely for something, having deep concern about something, being into it with one's heart and soul. This is the beauty, this is the state of being truly creative. This is the effortless flow of that creative energy, which is Ananda, bliss. This is the uniqueness of all creative arts, be it music, be it poetry, or sculpture, or dance, or painting, that it springs forth from Ananda and finds its culmination in Ananda. It is an end in itself. It has nothing else to explain it. It has nothing else to prove it. To be truly creative, to live creatively with intensity and passion, is to be in the state of Ananda, pure bliss. Let me share with you a few beautiful lines which unveil the truth and mystery that works behind great creative minds. The whole village had gathered in the garden of the sculptor. They had got used to him, to the chiseling, the hammering, the chipping, and the scraping. But today it was different. Where there had been but a huge hard boulder, now stood a living goddess, beautiful, glowing, bathed in soft light of the morning sun. They were speechless, unable to take their eyes away from the marvel. The spell then was broken by a soft, wonder-struck voice. But how did you know that she was hiding inside? But how did you know that she was hiding inside? The sculptor smiled with a faraway look and said, Because I saw her inside. Because I saw her inside. Life is exactly as one beholds it, as one receives it. One shapes and molds, one carves one's life, as it were, according to one's vision of it, according to the attitude one has towards it. Beauty, happiness, and contentment are not in what one gets, not in what is given to us, but in how one takes it. Situations may not be good or bad in themselves. Circumstances may not be favorable or adverse in themselves. It is how one faces them, how one tackles them, how one reacts or responds to them that results eventually in adversity or blessing, in calamity or opportunity. Apparently adverse situations, challenging circumstances may shatter a person completely, may overpower him, and as a result may compel him to withdraw himself into a shell. Whereas to another person, same situations, similar challenges may prove to be blessings in disguise, may transform into great opportunities, great experiences, if responded to with complete trust, faith, with courage, and with a positive bent of mind. It is here that one halts, one allows one's mind to be still and silent, and in those moments of repose, one suddenly sees the beauty of the statement, living is an art. Living truly is an art. Life is essentially one universal harmony. The laws that work through nature work through human life too, it being one of the aspects of the phenomena of nature, of universe. Life is order, life is movement, life is rhythm, Life is a symphony of the true, the good, and the beautiful. It is right proportion in thought, in action, in relationships, right perspective, right perception, along with the beauty and harmony of coexistence, cooperation, and togetherness. There is one more unique aspect of the phenomena which one observes in nature and in human life, and that is the beauty of interdependence and of deep interconnectedness underlying every part of it. And what is art other than this? What else is art but a harmony of lines, colors, and forms? Harmony of movement and rest? Harmony of melody and rhythm? Harmony of perspectives, dimensions, and proportion? And then beauty of harmony of the individual and the whole. In music, every single note is perfect, complete in itself with its own sweetness. But it is the togetherness of the notes that brings about music. Art is the expression of the universal through the individual. In nature, in human life, and in all creative arts, every single manifestation is complete and perfect in itself. But the true fulfillment of the divine plan is in their harmonious oneness. In the silent yet vibrant moments, one then is awakened to the truth that every little thing that one does, every action that one performs, every single note that is struck or sung helps create and add to the fundamental harmony that pervades the universe. Art is also a way of doing things, doing something in a beautiful, aesthetic way. Art is the creative response to life itself. It is giving oneself completely to something, to be creatively absorbed in whatever one does with selfless passion, patience, and perseverance. Art is the spontaneous surrender of one's body, mind, and heart to something. Then, whatever one does brings about harmony, results in a perfect piece of art, results in a haunting melody flowing effortlessly. And this is the way that one's life has to be led. The musician, whether a singer or an instrumentalist, practices every day. He may forego his meal, but never does he miss on his practice, whether he has to give a concert on a particular day or not. There are some musical instruments which have as many as 20 or 21 strings. The musician tunes the instrument, and tuning all the 21 strings to perfection is not at all an easy thing. It requires tremendous concentration, total attention. It requires the attention of his whole being to bring it to perfect tuning and to bring out the resonance. No string can be left untuned, nor any string tuned half-heartedly, because that one string unattended will bring discord to music. But the musician loves to do it. He does it religiously. He looks forward to devoting his time, energy, his whole being to his instrument, because it is meant to create music. In the old texts of Indian music and philosophy, this human body is addressed as Sharira Veena. Veena is one of the oldest musical string instruments of India, and Sharira means body. So, the human body with mind and heart is just like a musical instrument. It has to be kept in order. It has to be perfectly tuned. It has to be looked after, taken care of with sensitivity, with the sense of sanctity, because it is there to bring about music. Just as there is no string without a purpose in an instrument, as every single string helps to create the resonance, just as no instrument is without a purpose in an orchestra, as every instrument adds to the music that is created. It does not matter whether it plays a small piece or a long one. It is there to give some very special effect to the music total. Likewise, every manifestation in this universe is there with a purpose, is a special note to add to the harmony. Every phenomenon has a message of its own to convey. Every being that comes into this world has a special, significant role to play, and that one has to play well. One has to seek the purpose oneself. It has to be explored, discovered, and understood by the individual himself. If one delves deep within one's own self, one may discover what one's inner inclinations are. One may know of one's spontaneous bent of mind. If one is sensitive and intuitive, one is able to hear one's inner voice saying in whispers what it wants, what it waits for, what it longs for. The creative faculties are inherent in every being. They just have to be awakened and nurtured, and they are sure to do wonders. Life without sensitivity, without creativity is hardly worth living. One then does not live a life, but carries the burden of existence. Rabindranath Tagore puts it so beautifully. He says, to carry the burden of the instrument, count the cost of its material, and not to know that it is for music is the tragedy of a deaf life. This is precisely the tragedy of most of us who just carry the burden of existence. This beautiful instrument, this Sharira Veena, this human body we are born, endowed and blessed with, we merely carry about, spending calculatingly a lot of money over it, never realizing that it is for the music of the infinite and the eternal. But once this is poignantly realized, then one hears the faint whispers of the heart. The vain intellect stops encroaching upon the regions of the heart and soul. In no time, it melts into a flowing melody and touches the heart of humanity. And once this happens, then all unawares, the existence transforms into a new life, a creative, meaningful life, a richer and fuller life, a life that loves and cherishes every moment of its existence, a life in which every moment brings a new hope, a new inspiration, and a new beginning. And this is perhaps the state when life itself is a symphony of truth, goodness, and beauty. Life itself is a temple. Life itself is worship. Life itself is an invocation, ever sacred, ever beautiful, and ever blissful.